Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to the Wanda Coleman Theater at Beyond Baroque Literary Arts Center. My name is Genesis Perez, and I'd like to start by acknowledging our presence on unceded territory of the Tongva, Tataviam, Chumash people who've endured colonialism and displacement, and as an organization, we stand in solidarity with these communities. We honor their pasts and support their futures. Beyond Baroque is a place dedicated to the possibilities of language, founded in 1968 by George Jury Smith. We started out as an experimental literary magazine until we evolved into the space that you see today. The building that we are currently housed in was originally Venice City Hall, and since the late 70s, it has been a home for artists and writers. Beyond Baroque hosts a lot of different programs and events. We continue to offer our free Monday night fiction workshop with Raquel Baker and our Wednesday night poetry workshop led by poet Martin Yago. Both workshops happen weekly, virtually over Zoom, and they are free. Please check out our website for more information on how to register and when the next ones are. We also have a lot of stuff happening here in the theater. We are officially back from summer break and we're plowing straight ahead. Tomorrow, we are hosting several poets for our Poetry Like Football is for Everyone. And then on Saturday, we have a double header with longtime Beyond Baroque community members, Ron Kirchie and Charles Harper Webb. And then in the evening, we will be hosting a book launch with Ray M. Rodriguez. Please check out our calendar at beyondbaroque.org to find more information about the programs in the following week and beyond. And of course, if you like Beyond Baroque, you like what you see here on the stage, you like what you see here on our calendar, and you want to help art spaces thrive, you can support Beyond Baroque by becoming a member. Membership starts at $73. And if you'd like more information about the perks that come with membership, please talk to me in the bookstore after tonight's program. And before we begin, a huge thank you to the Beyond Baroque team, to Jimmy, Eric, Yvonne, Rhiannon, Annika Zoe, Jody, and Grace. Our team is small but mighty, and we put on over 100 events a year, and it is such a delight getting to work with them all. I'm super stoked about tonight's program. I don't know if you can tell. And I'm thrilled to announce our first reader of the evening, Jade Phoenix. His recently completed work includes a new collection of poetry and 2 award-winning films. As an artist, mother, queer, and trans content creator, Jade's work forges a vision for a new world. Her work inspires us to find joy while exploring vulnerability as a path to connection and healing. In the midst of a global pandemic, Jade's creative content brings communities closer despite the physical distance. Please, everybody, may we have a warm and welcoming round of applause for our first reader of the evening, Jade Phoenix.
Hello. Hi. How's everyone feeling? Good. Awesome. Y'all ready for some poetry tonight?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you all for having me. Thank you for being here. And yeah, we'll just get into it. As I said, my name is Jade Phoenix. Jade like the gemstone, because yes, I do bring good luck and serenity. You're welcome. Phoenix, like the mythical creature engulfed in flames, because I like to burn shit down in order for it to experience rebirth. Would you expect anything less from a Scorpio sun, Scorpio moon, Scorpio rising, Scorpio and Mars, Scorpio and Jupiter, and Scorpio and Mercury too? I'm serious. I'm just going to go ahead and crown myself the Scorpio queen, if we're good with that. All right. I am a trans woman, which means I was assigned male at birth, to which I never consented. But it's fine. I just like to refer to my childhood as my tomboy phase, which, if we're being real, actually never ended. I am a Filipino American, the proud daughter of immigrants that still call me their son. It's fine. I just switch out the O in son for you, and pretend their lives still revolve around me. In some capacities, I call myself a bruja. When I write poems, I recite them as spells, and I cast them on stages, broadcasted on mics, until they femifest into my present moment. At home, I'm reminded that I'm a mother. I have a 14-year-old teenage Gemini. At one moment, hates my guts, and the other moment, hates them a little less. Teenagers, am I right? If I'm being honest, in my most fearful and uncertain times, I would call myself unworthy of love. Raised as a pastor's kid in an evangelical home, I was taught that I was unlovable and unredeemable, if only by the grace of God. Good thing I have learned to become the grace of God. Even with traumas passed down from my mother and my lolas, I carry the lineage of generational curse breakers in hopes that I could give my daughter a childhood she doesn't have to heal from. Now, in more moments than not, I catch glimpses of myself whole and healing. In times of alignment, when I step into my light, I call myself present to exactly who I need to be in this moment. A poet, armed with words so sharp they can cut through jaded hearts, needing clearance to come up again for air just to feel something again. A voice so undeniable when it speaks and is heard, new worlds of possibilities orient themselves towards liberation like sunflowers move to face the sun. So if you're to ask me what the role of an artist is in the revolution, I would tell you that it is my job to help load the gun. So let me introduce myself again. Jade Phoenix Martinez, grateful steward born and raised on Tongva land, the queen of Scorpios, the grace of goddess, the gender binary wrecker, one amongst many in the lineage of generational curse breakers, and still the first of her name. Anybody seen Game of Thrones? Yeah, I'm rewatching it right now for some reason. But like that's like the getting introduced. If I had someone to like come before me, they would do that part. All right, let's keep it going. So I have new chapbooks. This one's the newest one from Ashby Bloom. I just put it together. It's been probably poems since the beginning of the pandemic to now. And so, yeah, if you are interested, come find me. I'm selling them. This piece is called The Garden. Growing up, it never really occurred to me that I wasn't supposed to be a boy. In fact, for most of my childhood, I can remember enjoying the mischief of my boyhood. So if you're to ask me the origin of this trans identity, I would honestly have no clear answer in response. No eureka moment to speak of, no genesis to my transition. When pressed for an answer, the best I can do is cite how poorly I grew into my masculinity. How the seams of my boyhood quickly began to unravel in the process of becoming a man. Eventually, I started to outgrow its limits, started feeling trapped in its lack of vulnerability, isolated in its fear of deep emotions or connection. Slowly, I began to notice how masculinity no longer fit my body right. The way it was so fragile, but needed to be worn as if it were unbreakable. So I began to look for something else to wear altogether, searching for something maybe a little less fragile, not so afraid to be broken. It didn't happen suddenly. I didn't wake up one morning to find the skin of my masculinity shed away overnight. Rather, I think of my transition as something more fluid. I like to think of my femme expression as little seeds planted at my birth, nearest the roots of my fullest potential, my most authentic expression in bloom, free from the thorns and weeds of toxic masculinity assigned to me at birth and scattered throughout my garden. I like to think of these femme seeds, rising to the surface my whole life, how the shedding skin of my masculinity became compost meant to prepare my soil for the spring. Rather, I like to think of myself flowering, a beautiful collection of petals, peeling its way open ever so slowly, each reveal more beautiful than the last. I've come to discover myself as a resplendent garden, finally seeing its beauty nearing full bloom, and how foolish of me it would be not to spend the rest of my life tending to its care. Thank you. All right. This is the newest piece that I wrote. And yeah, it just, it's times are turbulent and we're going through a lot of things. And, I think the more I sit with just what my calling is in this world and what I'm here to do, I continue to think of like the pain and the struggle that we have been inflicted with upon by all these systems of power that are trying to oppress us. And I think this is just kind of a way that I deal with all those things, is to write and is to find solace in the words, and then also to find communities that are also in struggle with those things and seeking liberation. And so this is my call for finding those people amongst us, and how important it is to be amongst those people that are working towards liberation and to be in community with them. So this is for y'all. I see you, baby girl. Survivor of all the things better left unsaid for now. You're too aware, too awake, too sensitive, too enraged. When somehow being both too much and not enough lives in your body all the same, I see you struggling with the beatdown. I see you, my love, with all that melanin in your skin, carrying both the beauty and the pain of generational DNA, both cursed and blessed in this world. I see you wishing you could just white girl, live, laugh, love the rest of this existence. Instead, we're forced to earn, eat, and pray our way through this twisted game of survivor which we never consented to play. All while being sold products and media meant to make us think we aren't already whole, anything to avoid the breakdown. But I also see you getting up. After every fall or stumble or setback, I would not blame you had you stayed on the ground, had you thrown up your arms at the seeming inevitability of the cruelty of this world and resigned yourself to the status they assigned to you for their profit. I get it, girl. I would understand. Had you abandoned your post as prophet, as seer of things to come, a little touch of the autism, and now your pattern recognition is a curse, not a gift. You, a visionary of unseen possibilities, and no one else to see them with. I see you've carried this weight alone for far too long. I have too. I know it's heavy, and there's only so much you can give. When of course they want you gone. Of course they want you deported. Of course they want us imprisoned. Of course they want me dead. Of course, in cages, in jobs, in abusive relationships, so that when the time comes for them to abuse us via systems of power and governance, well, they've already manufactured our consent. So of course. And it's all of this because you are the magic in this existence. Once unleashed, they cannot keep down. You are the medicine for the toxic masculinity they cannot trademark and prescribe for their portfolio gains. You are the religion that has no God for them to pray to for our forgiveness. You are their nightmare that our ancestors' dreams were made of. You are the mother of new worlds born into the dying throes of theirs. And I see you fighting against the beatdown. Your knuckles bruised and bloody. Your spirit buckling under the crushing weight of the patriarchy, white supremacy, capitalism, misogyny, transphobia, anti-blackness, everything they can harness in their power to silence or eradicate you. And here you still are, slaying the demons they unleash to keep you down. They don't call us survivors for no reason. So if this world is gonna burn, let it burn by our hands. If the world born of our bodies would oppress us, we must not let that world be born. We are the lineage of witches they burned at the stake and the phoenix reborn of their ashes. We are the bringers of old and new worlds that will usher in a return to the matriarchy. But first, we must burn this one down because the beatdown and the breakdown came for us and we survived it. Now it's ours to give back when we're ready. Let's get ready. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jade Phoenix. Can we get one more round of applause? kick off to the night. I'm so excited to announce our next reader. Richard Villegas Jr.'s fiction includes the short story I, Heart, Babylon, and La Música Romántica. He has written for the Los Angeles Times, Playboy, and New American Media. The half-hour drama series Vida on Stars is based on his original source material and consulting. Please, everyone, welcome Richard to the stage.
Hello. Thank you so much for including me in this, Faye. I'm glad you are back in LA. I also just published a book. It's in the bookstore, and I'm going to read a couple pieces from it. I was a LAUSD teacher for 20 years, so I wrote a memoir about that experience, and that's why it's called You're a Fat Super Bitch. So this is called N-words. One of my Latino first graders came up to me to report that another Latino boy had just uttered the N-word. Mr. Villegas, so-and-so said the N-word, said the snitch. At that time, I taught in an overwhelmingly Latino and Cambodian populated school in Los Angeles. It was located in one of those barrios where ethnicities mix in interesting and complementary ways, similar to the flavors found at hip ice cream parlors. Saffron and pistachio, lavender and honey, Cambodian and Salvadorian, Catholic brown with Buddhist brown. I was confused and suspicious of the snitching, to be honest. The one Black student in my class, Conrad, was super smart, very creative, a great writer, and everyone got along with him. Also, the student who supposedly uttered the N-word was a little immigrant boy who didn't speak English all that well. He wasn't necessarily a behavior problem and wasn't so well versed in American degradations. However, I felt especially touchy because during a recent parent-teacher conference, Conrad's mother had pointedly asked me, the Latino teacher, how our mostly Latino schools celebrated Black History Month. I stammered out the truth, we don't. And now here were my kids potentially exhibiting the effects of such multicultural lapses by dropping N-bombs in our classroom. But these were 6-year-olds, and although I'm sure many of them were regularly exposed to the grittier vocabulary of city life in LA, they still were pretty innocent. So, on a hunch, and instead of jumping to conclusions, I asked the kid who did the tattling what word the other boy had used. What's the N-word? He refused to repeat it. But something told me I ought to press him. I had been teaching for over a decade at that point, and hunches were a big part of my pedagogy. I assured him it was all right. I grant thee immunity, I told him, though not in so many words. He wasn't going to get in trouble if he said the word to me. I wasn't going to pull that old teacher psyops trick where the tattler gets busted for repeating bad words. Still, he refused. I offered him the opportunity to whisper the N-word directly into my ear, as if my ear canal were a chamber that could contain the historical blow of that word. I leaned into him. He put his hand at his mouth, and then he gently whispered in my ear, "Nalgas." Nalgas means butt cheeks in Spanish. On the spectrum of cussing, it lands somewhere between ass and bottom. I try not to laugh too much. I told the other little boy not to be saying the N-word. Racial equilibrium once again reigned in Los Angeles, albeit precariously. People have no idea what teachers do. So I taught 20 years in LAUSD, right? And so I have 20 years of stories. The next one is the source for the title of the book, okay? So it's called You're a Fat Sucker Bitch. Cussing is literacy too. I picked up the pink piece of litter off the playground. It was a note. It was written on the kind of cheerful paper relentlessly peddled to little girls and old sissies by the Sanrio Corporation. Of course it caught my attention. Ooh, look, pink paper, I thought. Hello Kitty stared maniacally from one corner of her judgmental, unmouthed face. Scrawled across the notepaper was a message written in penmanship typical of both serial killers and little children. You're a fat sucker bitch. When I found the note, I had been teaching for almost a decade at a very large primary school located between Hollywood and Koreatown, Los Angeles. From the looks of the message, maybe we teachers weren't doing too good of a job in the domains of language, arts, or citizenship. However, to be fair, literate adults on social media today can't seem to keep your and you are straight. Upon consideration, the phonics of the message actually came off as pretty solid. The acquisition of literacy has always been fraught, especially in the public schools of the larger Latino city of Los Angeles. Teachers face the burden of being responsible for the literacy of an entire metropolitan area with copious amounts of language diversity and poverty. One mean girl note found on the playground could never be the measure of much, except perhaps proof that literacy is actually taking some sort of hold amongst the school's children. The late, great Toni Morrison, during her acceptance speech for the Nobel Prize in Literature, intoned, "We die, that may be the meaning of life, but we do language, that may be the measure of our lives." This bright pink example of hate mail was language being done. At my school, the ground was literally littered with literacy. "You're a fat sucker bitch" was a message of hope. When I first wrote about this experience, I was teaching at a different school, L Elementary, located on the border between Koreatown and Pico Union. This one day during recess, I was inside my quiet classroom alone writing. Outside, there was a 5-year-old shouting, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" as he and a group of boys scraped spiders from the cobwebs off the gated windows outside room 2. They couldn't see me, but I could see and hear them as clearly as if I found myself on the other side of one of those one-way mirrors in a police interrogation room. I was tempted to open the door and shout, "What the fuck?" back at them. I didn't do it though. I left the boys to their excited, profanity-laced spider hunt. Remembering Toni Morrison's words, I reminded myself that they were doing their language as I was doing mine, using my 20-minute duty-free recess to jot down my memoirs in frantic little spurts. To this day, I wish I had preserved that Hello Kitty note. I cherish these notes and vulgar experiences because they remind me that although I may think I know what I'm teaching the students, I really don't. As a teacher, you're gifting these children language and literacy, alphabets and phonics, stories and know-how. But they are free human beings. They will do what they want with those gifts, authoring both love letters and hateful tweets in equal measure. It's similar to handing out $50 bills to street beggars who are free to invest in heroin or hamburgers. Because children are naturally transgressive, at least the best of them are, they learn quickly how to four-letter word their way through this challenging existence called life. Shit soon becomes more relevant to them than ouch. They learn this because they're paying attention to all the bigger people around them. They don't have to be directly instructed on which words are cool or destructive or dangerous or utilitarian. All they have to do is listen. Teachers have no control. There's no control to be had. There's an educator's objective, and then there is the student's free will. And if you are nurturing students to be writers, it's usually going to be for the worse. They will use their literacy against you and all the other fat sucker bitches of the world. Thank you.
They're going for Richard. I love a crude Hello Kitty now. Our next reader is Chekwube Danladi. She's the author of Semiotics, University of Georgia Press 2020, and winner of the Cave Conham Poetry Prize, selected by Evie Shockley, as well as the 2022 Independent Artist Award from Maryland State Arts Council. She's received fellowships and support from Callaloo Foundation for Contemporary Arts, Hedgebrook, Jack Jones Literary Arts, Kimbaloo for Black Fiction, the Lambda Literary Foundation, Vermont Arts Center, the Wisconsin Institute for Creative Writing, and elsewhere. Her chapbook, Take Me Back, was included in the New Generation African Poets 9 box set. Her visual work has been commissioned by the Center for Afrofuturist Studies, a program of PSI 1, Already Felt, Poetry and Revolt, and Bounty, Langer/Dickey, and the Black Poetry Review. She is the writer in residence at Occidental College and lives in Los Angeles. Please, everyone, another round of applause for Chekwube Danladi.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So very kind of you. I'm so grateful to be here tonight and to do so amongst such talented and warm-hearted people. Just very excited for this work to be out in the world. So thank you so much, Faye, for having us, including us as part of this bounty moment for you. I'm going to, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna read one long thing. I've been working on a lyric essay, like a long lyric essay, about the experience of becoming a parent, mothering via foster care, and eventual adoption, and how much how kind of life altering that has been in the last 2 years. So as part of this long project, it's an opportunity for me to write about my own family's sort of fractured and splintered histories, the kind of aftermath of the transatlantic slave trade, colonialism, how that kind of played out and plays out in our family dynamics. So it's still in progress, but I'm gonna read passages from it and try to do so in a timely manner. So the essay, the whole project, whatever it's gonna take shape as, is called Water, Therefore Blood. So these individual sections are not named. Okay. All right, I'll start with the first part. Years I waited, pressed firm my want inside soft holes, shushed, promised return after immolation. Years I wandered unwell, joining the abundant voices for supper, scowled and smoking in the dawn, absent of bounds, satisfied off chemical fumes, rummaging synaptic pathways for order, tucked my legs beneath me, rocked tense toes, whimpering, help me, my ancestors who wore before me the pain that I bear. Upon their marked faces, scarred for protection from spirits and the evils of white men, the kidnappers and traitors and slashers of limbs, protection from weak gods and foul tongues, protection from false borders erected under terror, the scramble for Africa, the bodies, the gold, the land, war scars like maps, traced after a long dispersal, so far from home, no home remains. My ancestors abide me during the troubling of my mind, muck rot, swamp sod, difficult to contain. Clear the enemies from my path, split-tongued, revealing weapons slid in secret folds. Purify the sickness, steamed softly, floating and translucent. Years I waited for relief. Studied cloud patterns alone, and avoided observation. Refused the call of the bridges over the Chicago River. Remained vigilant against haunts stalking night trains. Her bright humming pulse, it met me there, in the jostled capsule, rushing southbound, urging flight. Finish. Her breath moved within, uttered that wild name. Water, bore my begging, gifting more than the earth can provide. My name was my child's doing, wrung from the wet, my waterlogged chest, placed their bodiless grasp around my ears and squeezed, brought me prone against a flesh-carpeted floor. Have faith, mother, they demanded, ready for me. Enticed by immediate rapture, my child took possession, tightened my breasts, spread comfortably in the electrified fluid of sacral openings. At dusk, my thighs parting, child taking root by force. That morning there had been a splitting, my lover slumbering in my arms, found in humid breath, the bloom of gemstones under pressure. Alta Kaka, my mother's mother. Date of birth unknown. Place of birth, Garkawa, British Protectorate of Northern Nigeria. Mother's name unknown. Father's name unknown. From where did my grandmother materialize? Perhaps transported from another cosmos, left at the forest's edge or the gates of the village burial grounds, marked on her right cheek, claimed by a land lost for 2 generations, barely spoiled, sold off, so young, forced silence, and named my grandfather her enemy, her captor, driven by need, the only way she would eat, the cause of all my problems, she would say often. During the war, she fled to Cameroon with her children, confined within the state barracks outside Yaoundé, watching the blood-coated sun bury itself beneath the horizon. How many dead of the people left behind? How many unable to die or made to remember? She became lonesome in the presence of her children. She wished her husband dead at the hands of the enemy. Bertha, Nina, my father's mother. Date of birth unknown. Place of birth, Aka, British colony and protectorate of southern Nigeria. Mother's name unknown. Father's name unknown. A vessel made of red earth and water, sacred waters drawn from Angulu Lake. Earth swept up from a medicine woman's compound, the effigy built, then dried, then washed, revealing her fully formed body. 7 long lines against her ribs for each time she gave light. After she bore my father, she looked upon his face, and in his weeping saw her husband. In the thick orbs of my father's tears, she felt her husband's daily grief, his wailing chi broken by war, watching the hauntings and voices of his mind make meals of the townspeople. Lot looked on in awe as dead bodies rose up and danced about, finally sated, belching out a glorious call to the Alusi of the underworld. And in response, the Alusi seized human skin, to do their bidding. Grandmother watched on from the rear door, her husband's unseeable affairs, taking her further and further away from tether, beneath the sliver moon, praying for death. Ceremony of moons, potent, black, quiet, waxing, hopeful, slit, binding tug where the vessel's circular rhythms flow. Let's split ocean render layers of waves in melodic turmoil. Impatient for conception, the second child takes a low tone to the silence. Hold still, mother's body. I have restored my name. Melted the dry rose petals, urban sage, chaparral yellow blossoms, burnt on the windowsill. Olokun, your worshippers arrive in threes, each nervous for our own petitions. They make your work known, mercy of spirit possession. These bodies made containers, sanctuaries, revealing soft bark, leaking sap into soil below. My own flesh, I'd ready at dawn, oil cleansed, consenting. My lover's work, with each parting a reaping, an ecstatic howl. He bites the place where water falls, low, black, deep. He holds solid clutch, long age, the strength, only divine ordination, or flesh interference. What is earth recognizes itself in soil, fears its refracted image in the water. He calls to me, made me his water. One worshipper simmers honey, roots, and blood until it sweetens her uterus. One worshipper swallows golden sand to bless the birth. Thank you.
Please, one more round of applause for Chekwube Danladi. Our next reader is Myriam Gurba. Myriam Gurba is a writer and an activist. Her first book, the short story collection Delilah's Season, won the Edmund White Award for Debut Fiction. The Oprah magazine ranked her true crime memoir Mean as one of the best LGBTQ books of all time. Her essay collection, Creep, Accusations, and Confessions, was a finalist for a National Book Critics Circle Award for Criticism and won the Lambda Literary Award for Bisexual Nonfiction. She has written for the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, Harper's Bazaar, Vox, and Paris Review. Her newest book, Poppy State, A Labyrinth of Plants and a Story of Beginnings, was published by Timber Press in 2025. Please, everyone, a round of applause for Myriam.
Faye, congratulations. I'm so happy to be here with you tonight celebrating this event. And I'm so honored to be among so many talented readers. And the teacher stories had me remembering the classroom because I taught for about 15 years also, and I love tattletale stories. And I remember a preschool teacher who I knew telling me a tattletale story, and her story went that a kid had come up to her and said, Mrs. Solomon, so-and-so said the S word. And she said, well, what is the S word? And the little kid said, stupid motherfucker. I fucking love that story. Oh my God. So I'm going to read from Poppy's Date. And I'm going to read a brief excerpt. And just to give like a little bit of context, Poppy State is a strange book that is sort of my way of chronicling my recovery from a spiritual sickness called susto. For those who don't know what susto is, it is a condition of soul loss that can happen if a person is incredibly traumatized. And what your soul does is she just leaves. She's like, I can't. And so what you have to do is figure out how to sweeten yourself to make yourself a home where your soul would like to linger. And so Poppy State is a meditation on that. And so I'm going to read a section that introduces you to the villain in Poppy State. And so this is a character who's based on the abuser who largely contributed to my condition of susto. And I've pseudonymized him as the Marijuana Prince because he smoked a lot of weed. So I'll go ahead and introduce you to the Marijuana Prince. The Marijuana Prince and I texted, and he suggested that we meet on a Thursday afternoon at a beach parking lot. When I arrived, I found him leaning against a scruffy palm tree, clutching a bouquet of bird of paradise. For you, he said, handing the gift to me. Then he unloaded a picnic basket and tablecloth from his Jeep. I hope you like carbs, he said. I laughed. The unoriginal joke disarmed me. We walked toward the ocean until the Marijuana Prince ordered, "Stop." Then he unfurled the tablecloth across the sand, securing its corners with rocks. Across our makeshift table, he arranged a baguette, a stick of butter, brie, red grapes, a bar of dark chocolate, plates, wine glasses, napkins, and a knife. We sipped Chianti, buttered our bread, and watched pelicans dive for fish. Glowing like a fat, ripe strawberry, the sun half sank into the Pacific. The Marijuana Prince reached into his shirt pocket and pulled out a glass pipe. At first, I thought it was mushroom-shaped. When I realized that it was phallic instead of fungal, I blushed. Next, he reached into his jeans pocket and fished out a black film canister. He popped it open, took a pinch, and nestled the herb in the bowl, tapping it 3 times with his index finger. After producing a lighter, he fired up, put lips to the pipe, and inhaled for what seemed like a superhuman amount of time. Before I could say, "Excuse me," he grabbed me and kissed me, exhaling, infusing my body with THC. Smoke curled down my throat and into my lungs, caressing my alveolar sacs. I quickly became addicted to the scent of the Marijuana Prince. He smelled of coconut, clove, vanilla, cinnamon, cardamom. He was a stoner pastry. I gave up sleeping in my own bed so that I could wake to his intoxicating aroma. This pleased him. "I want you here all of the time," he said. "I want you to stay with me." When we'd been seeing each other for about 3 months, the Marijuana Prince told me something concerning. "I've been waiting for someone like you all my life. I'd almost given up." A tear rolled down his fragrant cheek. "Every woman I've ever loved has betrayed me. I know that you won't. His words chilled me, but I stayed. I didn't want to bring him more pain. Thank you.
Please, one more round of applause for Myriam. Our final reader of the night, the one that everyone is excited to celebrate, is féi iká shumarí. Born in 1993 in Chihuahua, Mexico. She is a two-spirit trans woman, an undocumented writer, visual artist, and healer. She is a 2023 Lambda Literary Fellow and a 2022 Tin House Scholar. Féi is the author of Hood Criatura, the forthcoming Undocumented, and Chabóchi Doll. Féi's poetry and prose is published in the Los Angeles Review of Books, Poetry, Academy of American Poets, Hayden Ferry's Review, said that in the right order, Oxford Review of Books, Translash Media, the anthology Somewhere We Are Human, the anthology Here to Stay, Split This Rock, F News Magazine, and more. Shumarí is descendant of the Pima, Ramori, and Kora people, and a candidate for the SAIC MFAW class of 2026. Please, everyone, give a round of applause.
I'm so happy. I feel so blessed. This book is a glory. I have to begin by thanking About Press. They really saw the urgency of my work. I've been, what's the term? Raised up, forcing us to sort of like find the literary world and take it seriously and get published here and get published there. And wait for someone to claim your work worthy and this and that. But I've never felt, it never has felt right, because I think everything that's happening is always urgent. It's happening in the now. So I can't wait for a publisher or an editor to be like, oh, this is great. Let's wait 2 years to then get this out. No thanks, I'm good. And I think for a long time I was resisting this urge to self-publish. You know, I've been indoctrinated that, like, don't do that, just wait, like, be patient. And I was like, I can't. Like, my people are getting swept off the streets. I'm a trans woman. The legal documents that I have in my pocket are still in the birth name that I had that sounds like a fucking telenovela name. And the picture looks like a cholo. So I'm like, if I get pulled over or something, like, I'm gonna be complicit in something that, you know, isn't really the case, but it's how it's perceived. And so we know our world is full of perceptions and whatnot. But essentially, About Press saw the urgency in my work. I started submitting everything on my Substack. I started reposting, sharing it. People were responding well to it. And it just was like heartwarming to see that what I was writing about was important for the people around us, and it was important in that moment and not any time later. About Press then said, we believe in your work. Usually publishers don't take previously published work, especially if it's like a whole manuscript of published work. And they're like, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. And so they took everything I wrote last summer onto December, and even some recently, into the beginning of this year, and the book is out now. It's here. Like, how did that happen? Like, you know, she did that. I curved the system, which is what we're here to do. So I'm gonna read a couple pieces. The dedication, I'll begin there. And I hope you enjoy it. Take care of yourselves, because some of the shit is deep. And, oh, Thank you to my mom. Thank you to my family and friends that are here. Thank you to the readers, my mentors, friends, colleagues that are here and showed up for me. It's super important that we just keep doing the thing that we do. Mora feet, a dedication. The Anawensa children ran barefoot around the blackberry tree. They were of a fearless breed, animal-like in opposition to the rosary beads, wet towels as whips, as correction tactics. Here in the single road, a strip of Pueblo, Anahuac, there was only so much Catholicism could do against the savage spirit of the arid ecosystem of the Chihuahuan desert possessing the children. The children had the faces of the rugged mountains, the skin of the desert plains. One child carried the face of drought, and another of the bronzed sun. Another ran like tumbleweed, another spoke like the slow cumulus clouds that painted the whitest sky. They moved as one through the train tracks, as one to the nearby sliver of river to glare at the shortcomings of God. They did this daily. Then the music would call them home. The shrunken man who played his guitar and protected the Anawensa children from reprimand and silencing by the woman of thick legs and stone faces. He protected them from instilling womanhood, manliness, or differentiating between poor or privileged. The haggard, brown-skinned man started with a polka from the wooden bench on a far right corner of the central courtyard with a single mora tree. His smile, the full extension of his face, the magnetic voice coming from it reverberating his corridos, summoned the flock. The children arrived ready to dance with hands to the sky, bare feet across the fallen blackberry, and their unrefined voices to the lyrics. It is here they forgot their fear of becoming like the dry river, fine sand. This was the way the old man taught everyone around to bless the shortness of life. It was his way to immortalize the bruise of purple, the stain of footprints across the house that led to where each child hid. The way we color memory when demolition is in the horizons. The renovated and new land development that would strip the Anawensa children's home, and along with them, the old man standing before the light-skinned woman clapping dough in their hands for tortillas. Everything changes. The square-faced man would ponder. What can we take into the new life? His career as a musician and drunk and quiet Pima way could not stand against another conquest, and so he, with the permission of the matriarchs, suggested they pack what little they had. He had a plan and a single seed. The Anawensa children grew apart after the old man could no longer sing from his grave. They became less wild, more comb in hair, more proper speech, and no more carcajadas. One of those children, his seed, became my ama. She is characterized by the volume of her dark hair, her jaguar, honey-colored eyes, her plump lips, always stained or red berry. She is the only one that remembers the old man in a romantic detail that I could only ever reach for. Sometimes she stares at the base of her feet while she lathers lotion after a shower, still wrapped in her towel, and smiles. I can see the memory of purple through purple, though she does not say it. Though it's not actually there, I can see the blackberry footprints she leaves behind when she walks barefoot. There's always music where she walks too, because she is the embodiment of what has survived the erasure that comes with death and displacement, time and time again. One ancestor after another, a possession that now befalls me, that at one point befell my Pima great-grandfather, a musical purple. This was the seed Mom festered and I replanted, the ability to take the memory of anything and immortalize it, though Ama does not run excitedly through a central courtyard anymore as part of the tribe of Anawensa children. Sometimes I do it for her in my writing. Though the blackberry tree was eventually demolished along with my great-grandparents' home, it lives within me and still stains everything in the darkest purple. Ama now only sings when the tequila shots hit her chest during family parties, revitalizing that dried river of memory. She has trouble revisiting the past, and so I do it for her, possessed by the cumulative stories I've been granted and which I cherish, and which I use to create new creation myths. For example, though Aman never said this, I know a ferocious rain befell the old man and the undocumented children as they danced and danced and sang under the mora tree. In silence, the old man with his guitar, the girthy stoic woman, the undocumented children and their parents stood with what little they could carry into the furthest blaring light of the city. They walked past the train tracks, past the dried river barefoot, leaving their purple footprints behind. The Mora feet people trailed into the distance, thinking all would be lost except the old man. He smiled all the way down, accepting the change, knowing his great-granddaughter would fester me into the storyteller that would remember the stain of purple, not only for my family's history, but that of all the people I would walk alongside, Black and Indigenous trans women, undocumented immigrants, people from the hood. He knew we would make our way to a place where music abound, dancing, and a wilder existence could never be torn down, blackberry feet and all. We, the collective we, are the Mora feet people, because no matter where we go, we will leave our music inhabiting blackberry footprints behind. Thank you. Okay, so that was a little serious. This one's titled, I am a trans woman, not a drag queen. Get it right, bitch. We both take our wigs off at the end of the night, but let me tell you something. I am still an estrogen-pumped woman after stringing my 38 DD size bra on a lamp's neck and wiping off my makeup. I'm inherently a clown. I've considered stand-up from all the comical atrocities that flavor my days, but no, I'm not a drag queen. I know trans people that are, and I clack my acrylic nails together in applause and support their job with deep admiration. Sasha, Carrie Colby, Peppermint, Kylie, Sonique, Love, my homies from LA that tear the stage, but me, I'm just a regular girl, a commissioned graphic designer, graduate student, a writer, all feminine inertia, no performance that comes on and then off. There is no stage for me, only a man's world. Drag queens and trans women both doll up, both entertain in different capacities. The world is sweeter and brighter because we exist in our nuance. We have the experimental queens and we have the trans non-binary femmes, the pageant queens and the dolls that serve fresh salmon. We have camp queens and sassy bricks. We have drag queens, bulky and muscular, but with flawless mugs. And then we have the high femmes, factory made. There is a shuffle of identities that do drag, including cis and non-cis people, straight and queer people, and the endless spectrum of combinations of identities. We are queer and therefore a resilient stain society can never erase. We are the secret desire people stuff into their pockets, the spiritual calling to be something close to divine, no pun intended. We are both essential contributors to preserving what is left of humanity, but the turn shifts are different. Drag queens, cis, straight, or queer men take off the glam, the pageantry, the Bianca Del Rio, the weird, the hyper-feminine Georges after they fulfill the work for their side coin, their Bob the drag queen job. But trans women clock into the daytime shift and the negotiation of our livelihood begins. We are women in a man's world irrespective of being makeup, tuck, and wigless. We remain all of our woman parts in the glaring sun, no disco ball or gelled lights, the color of a safer space to shield us wherever we go. There is only the morbid, transphobic, and bashing world, and yet we exist in our soundful strut and Colgate smiles. We remain a doll, even when we're dolled down. There is no collector's box we can revert into to feel safer unless passability is factored into the equation. We take the trash out as women, grocery shop, walk 3 miles at a nearby park, go to a 9-to-5, or work remotely as a woman. Trans women, who are also drag queens, can be the only ones to attest the differences or not of their experiences on and off stage. The only question left to hold is, how do we negotiate the world perceiving trans women only as a momentary glimpse of entertainment, of those of us that are not drag queens? This is the power of the colonial imagination. Trans women are not perceived as embodied women in and out of dolling up unless you're a learned ally or a decent human that has the dignity of giving others autonomy without questioning them. On nights out when I'm serving pit, I have been asked if I'm one of the performers or what time are you going up? Maybe it's precisely the fact that I am serving pit that I'm used to, that I'm assumed to be something beyond what I am, a woman. I can only make sense as a dolled up girly or dolled down curvaceous rarity if I'm here to entertain in every sense of the word. Honestly, this turns me into a flame emoji-eyed caricature of myself throwing a shaking fist in the air. I am turned into a stand-up comedian that will only ever be a red-nosed clown, and that doesn't suit my ferocious feminine prowess. Thank you. Hi. Hello. Y'all want me to be nasty? What time is it? Low key.
8:43.
Oh shit. How are we on time? Where's Genesis? We're good? Okay. They're all really short, by the way. Anyways, throat game. God's instrument. It's never, I want to worship you, transsexual goddess. It's always, I want that throat. Before the trachea, my vocal cords vibrated aggressively as I clapped back at a homie blocking my path, gripping his cock over his pants, demanding I put his number in my phone. Come on, it's big, he supplicated, as if I'm a size queen. I roll. The Art Institute of Chicago doesn't do anything but bystand. What else could I say of the people passing by an accosted tranny? Their throats on vocal rest. That is the day in a life of a daytime doll. I mean, a throat. I mean, a trans woman. A deep hymn resounded within my collapsed larynx as I walked away clutching whatever was left of me. A sound, even if there were no words, because I'm a bad bitch. The tongue, epiglottis, and esophagus also aid me when I run my motherfucking mouth on my new YouTube video podcast. It is titled Navigating the Three Dimensions with Shumarí Kairon, and to be quite honest, the density in my 3D world that is the hardest to swallow, unsurprisingly, is men. Men will U-turn when they spot you in the wild, even in the suburbs, and wave you over from across the street. He will mouth with his delicate man throat, "You working right now?" Then press on the pedal and U-turn back to his family. I spotted a sticker representing each one of his children, 2 dogs, and his wife on the back of his pickup truck. Last week, and this could be any past week, a man asked for my number at a Target while I searched for a humidifier. The approach is smooth and polite. He dissuades me from buying a too costly apparatus because he says it's not as effective as boiled water under a blanket. Fast forward, I am home and he reveals his girl was 2 aisles over in the makeup section when he asked me for my number. Density. I am in my kitchen alone, hunched over a tub of boiling water, Vicks, and eucalyptus oil, hydrating my throat. Sound is really important in the birth of speech. The acoustic phenomenon that is chord vibration, shaped by the vocal tract, is what flourishes the voice. That singular fingerprint that each one of us carries. My fingerprint says, "Get the fuck out my face." A short man on the corner of Arborvitae and Oak Street in Inglewood during the summer, in accented English, asks, "You working right now?" I said, "Huh?" My face twisted into a disbelieved smile before letting out a guttural, deep-seated cackle that came from an angry place in my feet. I didn't stop laughing until I made it to La Pasadita to order myself a ceviche to go. My throat game isn't bad, on the contrary. How many times has it been the only tool in my arsenal I use to release a man from himself? However, it's not my favorite apparatus. My vocal cords get crushed and the high-pitched femme voice I negotiate daily becomes dry and deeper in the aftermath of sex. I'm not trying to be clocked or be called a brick, so I avoid using the largest orifice on my face as a viable place for a man to put his big number in my phone. I mean, I'll do it for a good man who's trying to cuff me, but that's besides the point. The point is, the muscle, cartilage, and soft tissue lined with a mucous membrane are strained from having to be placeholders for men. My voice is tired of reshaping the anatomy of my throat into switchblades, quick-witted slashes to defend myself, which sometimes are futile because the thrusting continues. Where are the soft songs that I know want to lubricate me on their way out? The goddess in me wants to shake her ass, giggle at tender words from a man, and for once be an instrument that is relaxed and fearless in the public world. Thank you. I'm gonna close us off with this last piece. It is titled, this involves participation. I'm not gonna tell you how I hate, that whole like, oh, when I, that. You'll understand when you participate because it makes sense, okay? Is the title of the damn piece. Waru matetereba. The moment I learned to say thank you in my native tongue, I could not stop saying it. On and on, for every little thing I would punctuate with Waru matetereba. Behind a Zoom window, Sewa would subtly shake her head and press the tiniest yet most proud smile onto her face. You're picking up the language so fast, she said in her paced and regal Spanish during one of our classes. Your pronunciation is so natural. Waru matetereba. I smiled cheekily. Like a first grader, I learned to count in the language my father was never taught. I learned to say my age and where I resided. I learned to say I want to drink water, because why would knowing how to say my name be more important than that? We are of the arid copper canyons and the sandstorms of Samalayuca. I learned the word for deer. This alone changed the trajectory of my life. Shumare became Shumari, which is the name that chose me for tracking the wastelands of my conditioned self and making it back home. Now it was time for play. I remember nagging Sewa for translations, for help with small poetry I had created in Raramuri. Like small animals being born from my subtle magic, the poems slithered and huffed, smacked their sassy hoof against the boulder in ways that my previous work had never, even in Spanish, my first tongue. The connection to my indigenous predecessors in the linguistic sense was the wilding I needed to reimagine who I could be in this world. I am a writer. How do you say that? I asked Sewa in Spanish. That's hard, she pondered. Se dice, osheri neweame. Now repeat it. Osheri neweame. Osheri neweame translates to, I am the author of a book, which, interestingly, is the only way to say that one is a writer, considering Raramuri is an oral tradition and not a written one. Truth be told, though, I had made a career in writing, but it wasn't until this moment that anything that I'd ever done made coherent sense and vibrated in truth. After finishing our class early, I asked if I could have some assistance writing an unnecessary line of poetry. I want to paint a snake on a deer. Sewa didn't give me the answer. Instead, told me to attempt it alone, and she would correct me need be. Like a child eager to use the new directional language I learned in class, I blurted, Sayawi, chumarichi chukwachi ne yokinari, exasperated with the peaks and valleys of intonation. Wegara, Sewa often punctuated. Good, she would say. Warumatetereba is how I learned to say hello. Bowing to life meant humility, not the type that involves a geopolitical subjugation that leaves one is overpowered into handing over land in an exchange for life. The type of humility I refer to is where something akin to magic or the soul or iwigara threads a sort of genius pathway forward only with one surrender, your calm and steadied breath. By saying waru matetereba, I found a way to red stitch all the parts I'd felt fragmented together in the same way of wabi-sabi, the Japanese tradition to mend broken things with molten gold. Waru matetereba, to the body that learned to become the flag of its autonomy outside of nation states I never served. Waru matetereba, to the woman I unleashed from within. May her light continue to help build a new world. Waru matetereba, to the ethers for my brain tumor diagnosis that handed me the guidelines for how to commit to loving myself for the rest of my life. Waru matetereba to my elders, Raramuri, Pima, and Kora peoples present and past. You give me a place to belong, even if from the margins. Waru matetereba to my mother, Maribel Lorenzana, the head of the matriarchs that raised me and stood by through all my transformations and diagnoses. Waru matetereba to all my sisters and sisters who march on with me in spirit, in memes, in clowning, in venom spewing, in a deep commitment to each other. Waru matetereba to all the new friends and the writing peers I have been so grateful to meet and sustain. Waru matetereba to my elder Goscathuatli Tlazatoteo from Mexico City who facilitated gambo, rapé before Temazcal in preparation for work with La Abuela, ayahuasca to help with healing my brain tumor. Waru matetereba to the Purge magazine for accepting Crash Bandicoot and Two Women for your Volume 8 Winter 2026 social issue. Waru matetereba to 60 Lit for requesting, editing, and publishing my dreamy child, Blue. Waru matetereba to Michelle T for requesting work for the Clowns anthologies. I am a trans woman, not a drag queen. It is better for it. Waru matetereba to Diamond Braxton and Abode Press for allowing the fury, immediacy of my Substack self-published essays and others into the physical form so that you, my reader, can witness your own genius. And to you I say, Waru matetereba. Thank you.
Please enjoy the reception in the lobby. Visit us in the bookstore. Please visit Shumarí, who's selling books in the lobby. And thank you so much for joining us at Beyond Baroque.